psychologist. I dared my client to be happy. Now I'm paying the price. I don't need to be here, he said, fists shoved deep into his pockets, eyes averted. Ah, the magic words. Every psychologist likes to hear, not. So why are you here? My mom thinks I need help, but I don't. What does she think you need help for? His lips clamped tight, forming thin lines. Hey, I'll be honest, I said. If you really don't want to be here, I'm not going to force you. I don't want to hold someone hostage. I work with clients who do want my help. His eyebrows arched in momentary surprise before collapsing back into dourness. Just let me know why you think your mum wants help for you. If it doesn't make sense, I can have a chat with her, let her know. He stared at me suspiciously. She thinks I'm mad, just because I believe that. He trailed off, gaze lowered. Hey, I've heard all kinds of things in this office. I've experienced all sorts of unbelievable stuff. I'm not going to judge. He bit his lower lip for a second. Every time I let myself be happy, bad things happen. Ah, good old cherophobia. They should include that in the DSM-5. That's a very normal belief. Lots of clients I know hold it, that once they dare allow themselves to be happy, something bad will happen. I know that. I know all that, he said impatiently. But I'm different. It's true for me, not just a fear. You've been through enough to make anyone believe that. That's how the fear develops. People are happy, and then bad things happen. So they make that association. I know that too. I've Googled, you know. He rolled his eyes. I suppressed a sigh. For me, he continued, I have multiple proofs that being happy leads to bad things. He took out his phone and began scrolling. I can show you. Oh, this was getting interesting. Whenever clients express cherophobia, the fear of being happy, I generally relied on two approaches: challenge the thought's accuracy and devise a more balanced one, or use exposure activities. Have them do what they feared to see if their dire predictions came true. In both cases, I'd ask clients to keep a log of their moods and subsequent events. The records often convince them that, usually, being in a happy mood does not lead to bad outcomes. This guy had already done the log. It could be a good segue into therapy. He shoved his phone at me. I read the logs, and the crease between my brows slowly deepened. 25th of December, 2024. Felt happy. Tried not to be, but it's Christmas. Tripped on wires of the Christmas lights. The Christmas tree fell over, squashed a few presents. December 26th, 2024. Opened unsquashed presents. Got a PS5, celebrated, until I remembered. Too late. Dad got drunk, knocked over and broke his wine glass. Mum stepped on broken glass. They fought. January 1st, 2025. New Year. Felt hope. Prayed that bad things would no longer happen in 2025. A cyclist knocked the phone from my hand and the screen was all cracked. October 1st, 2025. Went out with family for pizza night. Got to order whatever I wanted and felt happy. But the whole family ended up with food poisoning. 21st of January, 2025. I'd been so careful, squashing every bit of joy. But today, a pretty yellow-haired girl said I have a cool shirt. I felt happy, then slipped and fell during basketball, hitting my head. The doctor warned me to be careful of concussion. 30th of January 2025. Laughed at a funny reel. A fly flew into my mouth. I choked and spat it out. February 2nd, 2025. The yellow-haired smiled at me, and I smiled back. Then someone closed the door on my fingers. Hairline fractures, the doctor said. looked up at him and then down at his taped-up fingers. I chewed the inside of my cheek and ran a hand over my wrist. He did seem to have a string of bad luck, but perhaps it was a prophecy-fulfilling cycle. Maybe his fear distracted him or put him in a bad mood, influencing subsequent events. This is a series of very unfortunate events. It could seem like bad things really follow you around, but they definitely do. How are you so sure? I asked. You don't see it, do you? I shook my head. I don't understand, but I'd like to. I can't imagine what it's like living a life where you don't dare to be happy. No, I meant, you don't see it, he said, pointing at something next to him. Oh dear God, not another one. I had my fair share of dealings with clients, supposed and real hallucinations. I sincerely hoped he was messing with me for his sake. Hallucinations were no fun. I ran my fingers nervously across my wrist. Is there something that's supposed to be there? I asked in a light tone. Please be joking, I thought. He seemed to ponder for a moment, staring at me thoughtfully, then sighed. I see a shadow, he said, fixated on the spot near his shoulder, his face tensing. A dark thing. I can't see it clearly, but I think it's my father. I raised an eyebrow, then caught myself and lowered it. His mum had mentioned he lived with both parents, so I wasn't aware of a dead dad. Your dad's alive, right? Oh, not my dad. It's my biological father. Oh. That wasn't in the intake form. Is your biological father gone? Yes, he's dead. Drank too much. Drove. I was 6. You know what his last words to me were? What were they? I asked gently. I found a cool, snake-shaped stick. I was happy. I ran to show him the stick, but he broke it in half. He said, his eyes darkened, and I braced myself. We should never have had you. I didn't even want a child. You killed your own mother. She was everything to me, and you killed her. It should have been you. So don't you dare smile. Don't you dare be happy. He paused. Along those lines anyway. The way he recited those lines, with a glazed look in his eyes and a sudden change in tone, told me that those words were repeated verbatim. I swallowed a rising lump in my throat. So he was an orphan. Dead mother, abusive father, who also died. I hope to God his adoptive parents were kind to him. I'm sorry, that's terrible, horrible. No one should ever say that to a child. I did kill her, he shrugged. I was too big as a baby. She died giving birth to me. That's not your fault, I said firmly. It's not. He waved me off. That's not my main problem. My main problem is he showed up when I was 14. It's been almost a year. He's still around, causing problems. Crap. It could be early onset schizophrenia, or maybe a mood-related psychosis. Did anything happen around that time? A heavy silence hung in the air. I found an old photo of them, he finally said. My biological parents, they looked so happy before me. I'm sorry, I said, struggling to piece it all together, as sorrow bubbled up. The poor boy must have been stricken with guilt. Was his hallucination a manifestation of that guilt? Do your parents know about this? I asked. He shook his head. They'd think I'm crazy. They already do. Besides, he added, his voice cracking a little, he says I can't tell anyone. He looked at me, and a hint of defiance crept into his voice. But I told you anyway. He glared at the nothingness beside him. Thank you for telling me. It's the first step to getting proper help. If you're seeing things, it could indicate a significant mental condition. It's important to tell your parents about this, to get all the support you need. If it's just a mental condition, why is it able to affect my life? Coincidences, People make mistakes, get hurt all the time. They trip up, drop things. He frowned and cut me off. You don't believe me? Then I'll just have to show you. He stood up and to my surprise began to smile. His smile seemed pained, forced. Then he closed his eyes and was silent for a few moments. His smile turned sincere. I'm going on a trip next month, he told me. I'm going to ride the world's craziest roller coaster. His smile widened. Uh-huh, I said. Well, it looked like he was doing his own exposure therapy. Good. He excitedly outlined the trip's itinerary, and his eyes began to sparkle with excitement. Nothing happened. He even seemed surprised by the uneventful conversation. Then he sighed and sank into his seat, relaxing for the first time in the session. It would be great if I could be normal again, overcome this. No more stress, no more making myself sad or angry. Just be me, be happy, laugh, enjoy life. Hopeful embers stoked in his eyes. That's right. It would be great. You deserve to be happy. You? A sharp crack sounded above us, followed by a burst of crackling noise. I looked up just as sparkling glass shards rained down on me. I shut my eyes immediately and dug down, but a searing pain ripped through my right eye. Fuck, I swore before catching myself. Sorry, I managed, tears streaming down my face. The pain in my right eye was unrelenting. I didn't dare open it. Crap, I told you bad things happen when I'm happy. You're hurt. The boy's voice rose in pitch and volume. I'm fine, I lied. The sharp pain struck in violent stabs now. My tears flowed in rivulets. I risked opening my right eye and instantly regretted it. A piercing tear of pain forced me to close my eyes again. At least I could still see. Something was blocking my vision in that split second, and tears blurred everything. Call for help, will you? Get an ambulance. The boy grabbed his phone and dialed. He went pale. My phone went dark. It shut down. No warning. He jabbed at the screen and pressed the side buttons. Nothing, he yelled. It's okay, I said as calmly as possible, reaching for my own phone. I peeked through my left eye and tried to unlock it with my fingerprint. The screen went black and I couldn't switch it on. Huh, I muttered, trying not to freak out. Hey, don't worry. Just go out and get your mum to call for help. He ran to the door and fumbled with the knob. It's stuck, he yelled, repeatedly jiggling and hitting it. I'll admit, I began to panic, more than a little. The door lock must have been messed up. My receptionist was out for lunch. Otherwise, she could have helped. I went to the door and called out, Hey, Mrs. H, redacted. Please call for an ambulance. I'm hurt and need help. The door's stuck. Could you help open it? No one responded. Mum must have gone out for lunch, the boy said in a dismal tone. Are you okay? Is it bad? His voice was shaking. Yep, I'm good. Just need some help. The pain was getting tolerable now, still sharp and throbbing, but I was getting used to it. I shut my left eye too. Keeping one eye open placed awkward pressure on my right eye, making it hurt more. Tears were oozing from my right eye. Your eye, it's bleeding, he said, sounding ready to faint. I gulped. So was blood oozing from my eye. It's all right. It will be fine, I said, though I wasn't convinced. I dabbed at my face and opened my left eye just a crack. Pinkish droplets clung to my fingers. Damn it. Let me just... I reached under the table until I found the emergency button. I pressed it. Thank God I'd finally splurged on one. My receptionist's phone would be notified. Hopefully, she'd hurry back soon. I told you, he said miserably. Bad things happen when I'm happy. Hey, this is just real bad luck, A terrible coincidence, I said, leaning my head back and closing my eyes. That position helped lessen the pain by a minuscule amount. I didn't believe my own words, but I felt I had to say them. A sudden crushing weight bore down on my chest. I fell back and gasped, eyes flying open. The same ripping pain tore through my right eye again, and I quickly shut it. The force squeezed the air from my lungs. I tried to speak, but couldn't. "Go away," my client yelled, waving his arms at the invisible presence on my chest. A foul stench of rotting fish mixed with the cloying scent of liquor smacked me in the face, so unbearably putrid I gagged and almost vomited. He cannot be happy. He needs to suffer, like I did. A deep, rumbling voice hissed as the stench intensified. The voice came from something right in my face, something I couldn't see. He can never be happy. The unseen voice drilled a chill down my spine. It sounded like a snake rattling as it glided through undergrowth. The boy whimpered somewhere beside me. I couldn't see him, and my left eye was gradually succumbing to darkness at the edges. I croaked soundlessly at the unseen figure exhaling foul fumes. Something held my arms down. The cold touch squelched against my skin. He needs to suffer. The venomous voice was cut off mid-sentence when the boy swung his chair across the space above my chest, barely missing me. "Stop! I killed her. It's my fault." The pressure lifted from my chest, and I choked on a lungful of air. The boy was flung back by an unseen force and crashed against the wall. "Yes, this is your fault too. I told you not to tell anyone." Slowly, the boy was lifted off the ground, struggling and flailing against an invisible force. I kept drawing huge breaths as I struggled to stand. My left eye took in the scene. The boy's face was turning blue. He wouldn't last long. "I need you to suffer," the rasping, spine-tingling voice continued. I stumbled toward the boy. "And I need you to use some mouthwash, for crying out loud. I'd rather stab myself in my other eyeball than smell that breath," I rasped, as another wave of pain split my right eye. The boy fell to the ground, and it was his turn to choke on air. The stench swept over me. "You will regret that," it said. Something tightened around my throat. I pulled up my sleeve and held up my wrist. If you've read any of my past accounts, you know I'm a psychologist who's been through many weird supernatural situations. I'm like a damn magnet for them. In light of that, I got a protection tattoo on my wrist. One, I was told, is incredibly powerful and meant for moments just like this. I shoved it in the face of the unseen creature and waited. There was a moment of hesitation. Then a crackling chortle sent my hopes tumbling. "Oh, you think that helps?" "It tickles," the voice drawled. "Damn you, Sam and Dean. I'm never watching Supernatural again. And that damn putrid breath. Crap." I wasn't sure if I was passing out from lack of air or from that fetid stench. Unable to speak, I flipped the thing off. Then I scratched at the air, hitting at nothingness, kicked, trashed, and screamed without sound. Dark spots formed in my view. I couldn't hear anything but the roaring of my blood in my ears. What a way to go, I thought. After all the crap I've faced, this is how things end. My left eye closed too, and I slipped into oblivion. For about 5 seconds. The door burst open with a crash, and I began to regain consciousness. The vice grip around my neck vanished. Once more, I was desperately gulping down sweet, beautiful air. I looked around wildly, and there she was, my receptionist. She had come to the rescue. The petite lady had barreled the door down on her own after hearing the commotion. Looks like her obsession with working out really worked out for all of us. I need to give her a massive raise. The whole thing was a mess. I was a mess. My client was a mess, and my receptionist was a mess. We all decided not to tell the client's mum what had happened. She finally returned from lunch after we'd tidied up and neatened ourselves. His mum seemed to sense something was wrong. I mean, my eye was bleeding and my neck was ringed with dark blue and red marks. But she didn't press. She simply grabbed her son and left after we explained it was just an accident with the lights. Perhaps she assumed her son had attacked me. That would have explained her eagerness to let things be. I went to the hospital and had the glass shard removed. My vision wouldn't be permanently affected, which, God damn it, was a huge relief. I stayed the night under the watchful eyes of the nurses. It felt good to finally relax. I thought I caught a whiff of that horrible stench in the middle of the night and woke up terrified, but it was just a dream. Nothing happened. Nothing attacked me. The stench was gone. In the morning, though, I saw scratches on the side of the bed. "I'll be done with him soon. You're next," spelled the messily gouged markings.